Welcome back to another episode of the Traveling Hoopers podcast. I am your host, Alan Pettigrew Jr., and in front of me is my best friend in the world, Calvin McGowan. Calvin, go ahead, let the people hear your voice.
Once again, everybody, it's a pleasure to be here. Um, you know, College basketball season has started. I've been watching some games, the ones that I can manage to watch. And it's been fun and I'm glad to be here once again to talk about it.
And with that being said, since this is the Traveling Hoopers NBA show, I do got to let you guys know we're going to be talking about college basketball. And to spice it up and have it a little bit NBA focused, we are going to throw in some NBA 2022 prospects and possibly even some 2023s who are doing really good to start off the year. But me and Calvin were talking about how this is kind of like, at least for most teams, this is the warm up. So it's not like they're playing the D3 schools that they were playing against in the preseason. But let's just say Kendall Brown looked like a god against Nickel State. And I just don't know if he's going to look like a god when he goes up against Kansas, where there's like size. But Calvin, go ahead and tell the people what you were talking about with the slate of games
Okay.
that you've been
So
watching.
it's felt like one in terms of you're talking about good games in terms of having, ranked teams roll up on each other. Right. I felt like you've gotten more of those good games early from the women's side of things. Right. But even with some of the more interesting men's games, right? And we'll get to Gonzaga and Texas here before too long. But for example, and granted, now I think about it, both these games involve SEC schools, right? But the Alabama men's team played South Dakota State, which tends to be a very good mid-major, right? Um, which that's good. If they're playing a good mid-major, it's fun. It was a good game if you got to see it, but it was on ESPN Plus and SEC, the SEC Network Plus or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of why don't you put this on one of the ESPN, ESPN2? This seems like the kind of game you would want on. Good teams playing each other instead of I don't Duke blowing out some team that most folks don't really care about like that, right? Or why is a ranked women's game 23 South Florida and 17 Tennessee, correction, 16 Tennessee, for on the women's side stuck on SEC Network Plus as opposed to I don't know, even ESPN3. No, I don't care what what the Quinnipiac men's team is doing right now. I'm sorry, I just don't. It's and I'd rather watch the ranked women's game. But maybe that's just me, and I just like good basketball. But um yeah, and like I don't know, it's just granted. I
It
guess
sounds
the is
No, it just sounds like college basketball has a scheduling issue when it comes to televised games, especially this early in the season. We're gonna see if it gets better, but we're known to, especially have the really good women's teams relegated to like lower channel. Like I don't even think the WNBA finals was like on regular ESPN. So like we're always going to have that Not always. I imagine it's going to change eventually,
I
but we
think
have that disparity, and it's weird.
like South Carolina and North Carolina State um were on ESPN, right? But they're also, I think, what, number one and number five at the time that they played or something, number two and number five. Um, so it's just I don't know. I'd rather just have the best basketball on TV. Granted, right? I'll watch some game that most people aren't gonna care about too much, right? Like I would pay attention to Drake in South Dakota or whatever, because Drake's tended to be a pretty good mid-major as of late. But I don't know. It's just I feel like there are games both on the men's side as well as the women's that feel like they should be in front of more people. I'll put it that way. But like as we go on, we're going to get some more of those marquee matchups. Gonzaga is going to start playing more folks. All of the ranked, like a lot of the ranked teams, or like even just kind of good teams, are going to start playing more good opponents, because, like you said, like that first week is kind of the warm up for most teams, right? Unless you're Gonzaga, but like then you could argue that everything is the warm up, because again, let's talk about Gonzaga and Texas right quick. Can we just
mean the Gonzaga Steamrollers?
Like, yes, like Gonzaga just in case, for those of y'all who haven't watched much college basketball, Gonzaga, who's currently ranked number 1 in the country, or at least was as of that game, which was what, Saturday? Yeah, it was
and
Saturday.
if they fell down the rankings, everybody who voted is painfully drunk.
But Gonzaga was, granted, I only rolled through around halftime because I remembered, this game is happening, right? But like Gonzaga was in full control. Let's put it that way. At the half, Drew Timme, current front runner for National Player of the Year coming into the season, had 22 points, right, by himself, and the entire Texas team had 27. Like, this is going into the half. And like it didn't get much better after halftime, which was kind of wild to me, like, because Chris Beard is generally regarded as a very good coach. I would have expected some adjustments, right? And I didn't feel like I saw adjustments. If there were adjustments, right, I talked about this game with my dad, who coached basically everything, is pretty good at the whole coaching thing. And like he suggested, if you're not going to have some like them double, have a dude ready to like rotate over when he turns. But like, even if we think about that and like dudes trying to get over when he makes that, like when he pivots to go up, like dudes weren't getting there fast enough anyway. So it's just like, even if that was the adjustment Beard made, it wasn't working. And like, he had 37 at the end of the game. He had 37. Texas let him post up guards. Right,
Calvin, and it was a loud 37. Like he was giving it to him. Like, all disrespect, looking at the crowd, hype, like, because that's his home state.
I know now.
Yeah, Texas is his home state. So he when Paul Pierce did the big ball celebration, yeah, like that was his energy the entire night, and it was magnificent.
I think it was a home game for Gonzaga, though. Or was it a neutral court? I don't know offhand. I think it was a home game.
Wait, yeah, you're right. It is a home game, but hey, look, some of his friends was there. Some of his friends was there.
Yeah. Like, and it's like the fact that it's a home game, it's like for Gonzaga, you can't hold it too much against Texas, because it's kind of like, when you put it in that context, the fact that they lost isn't as surprising. It's just like, so the ends, like by the end of the game, the final score, right, 86-74 Gonzaga, but like it wasn't that close, right? If you watch the game, like it wasn't that close,
not at all.
And it's just like, if you're Texas, I'd be more upset in particular about that first half. I have no idea. In fairness, I didn't watch the first half. I just saw what the score looked like. But still, it's just like, there's some things for both the coach and the team to work on, right? If I'm Texas. For one, not letting one of the best post players in the country post up your point guard. Right? That's a good place to start.
Yeah. And I got in like halfway through the first half, right? And it was ugly from like the jump. Like when I tell you, you remember how we were talking about last week on the podcast that I imagine Drew Timme is going to be an island on most nights. When
Mm-hmm.
I tell you this man was in the Bermuda Triangle. Like there was nobody around him. It was just him and some little guard, and he was just taking it to him. Like he was doing the full repertoire. Like he looked like he was at practice, bro. Like it was kind of bad, but he started off like that. Like he scored the first bucket, and he didn't stop scoring. I think I'm looking at the play-by-play now. He had the first 7 points.
Hmm.
Like he wanted to go hard. He did.
Huh. Okay. It's just, I don't know. It's just like just thinking about it. It's like you would have expected a less one-sided game.
But
Though.
look, man, this happened to Kansas last year too. I think if you were a top 5 or top 10 team and Gonzaga's like, hey, you want to play me in the first week? Don't do it. Don't do it. Because I
Like,
don't know if they're just more like Mark Few is that good of a coach where he has his guys dialed in from day one like that. Like you're just not ready.
just thinking about it now as you're talking with it, I think part of it is, I think it's a couple things. One, I personally, granted, right, I like Few as a coach, um, DUI notwithstanding,
Mhm.
but like I do think he's that good of a coach, but also, right, especially with how both in terms of perception as well as like when they start talking about tournament seedings and things, right? Gonzaga's non-conference is a lot more important for Gonzaga than Texas non-conference is for Texas,
Mhm.
for example, right? Which isn't to say that like Texas thought this was going to be an easy game, like they out like as a coach, but also just like anybody who halfway pays attention, is not that stupid. But like Gonzaga has to come out on all cylinders in a way that like a lot of those major conference teams don't, because right, they get into conference, and in fairness to Gonzaga, their conference isn't as bad as people want to act like it is, right? BYU is usually pretty good. San Francisco tends to be pretty solid. St. Mary's is a good program. Um, but like the meat of Gonzaga's schedule tends to be the non-conference, which whereas with Texas, for example, more like they, even though I don't think they did, even though I haven't just peeked at their schedule, right? They didn't. I don't think they phoned in their non-conference, but a lot of other programs tend to kind of comparatively kind of phone in their non-conference because they're just like, we're gonna get opportunities to look good in conference. I don't like that, right? Like I feel like if you like, and if this is probably more, as I think about it, it's probably more pronounced with like teams that tend to be not that great in conference, or like middle of the road major conference teams be like, we won't put a lot of meat on our non-con so that like we look like we might be something when we get lucky, right? And catch a game against Duke while we're at home or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and then like that's how you end up with middle of the road like high majors getting in over like good mid-major teams who didn't play as many top 25 opponents, but might have actually gotten a game or two, right? When they did actually have those opportunities. And how did I go back from talking? We just went from talking the game to scheduling again.
Hey, look, that's part of the game, bro. Calvin. So as you were talking, I kind of got I wanted to look into what you were saying about how they schedule so heavy during the non-conference. So I went all the way back to 2016, 2017. You do not want to play Gonzaga in November. They have lost 2 games
In
in that
November,
time span to top 10 teams. They lost to Florida in 27-18, and they lost to Duke in 19. and that was at the Maui Invitational. They lost two games in what, a 5-year span. And it's not like they playing babies. Like the latter half of that, the what, basically 17, 18, 19. It's a little bit lighter because they're not the super team, but they're all on the rise. And like, also, if you go back and look at all these rosters, Gonzaga is like scary huge. Like, always has like 3 or 4 7-footers. It's tough. Like, I see why teams aren't ready for that. But yeah, man, that's the only 2 losses is a really good Florida team that was number 7, and then Duke, who's also number 7.
Right.
So
Like,
the formula to beat Duke in November, I mean, to beat Gonzaga in November is be number 7.
well, then Duke is in luck this year. At least if they stay there. But it's just like the thing is, right? Few like to get those good seedings has to have his team basically in mid-season form as soon as the season starts, which actually is kind of wild to think about. And like I'm looking at their schedule, and it's just fairness. I don't know if Central Michigan is any good, but like I would assume the worst teams currently on their schedule are actually Alcorn State, and I'm assuming Merrimack. Again, I have no idea if Merrimack is any good, but Bellarmine is mid. I'm assuming Central Michigan is mid. Like they're not terrible, but they're not amazing. But like they got UCLA. Like this is non-conference. UCLA. Like they got UCLA next Tuesday, right? Then that Friday they have Duke. They have Alabama December 4th. They've got Washington December 12th. They have Texas Tech December 18th. Right? And then I think they have 2 kind of fluff games, Northern Arizona and North Alabama. Then they appear to have San Diego. And I think right after that they're in conference. Is San Diego in the conference too? No. Okay. Yeah, right then after that I think they're in conference. But it's just like they have to have those games. Otherwise, you're going to have the idiots or like the people who make the decisions for seeding be like, they ain't playing nobody. It's just like, no. But also, few, like they've been good long enough that like big teams will give them those games.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, I'm sure you've heard about that whole thing where like like a mid-major will get good and they will stop getting phone calls for games. Right? The high major teams don't want to play them anymore. Mark Few has been like in Gonzaga have been good so long that they can get those games now.
Yeah,
Right?
and it's rough, yeah. It's rough for them.
Now the fact that like those high major teams, even the really good ones, tend to lose those games, it is what it is. But like they'll get those games. But to I don't know, kind of slide away from that for a little bit. What's a lot of granted this moving I guess to a game I did stuff I haven't seen in person. Kennedy Chandler has been playing some good basketball going into the season, like at this early point.
Calvin, did you ever doubt it after watching
No,
that man play for those 10 to 12 games that we watched? Did you ever doubt that he wouldn't just hit the ground running?
not really. Not really, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's one thing to be like, yeah, I know this kid is cold, and then to see it validated, it feels like it's a different feeling. It's just like granted, I haven't just seen his games, though they have their next game is against Villanova on Saturday, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna definitely watch that. But through his first 2 games, granted, neither of the teams they played were particularly good. But like through those first 2 games, he's averaging 18, 3, and 5. Right. He is shooting an unsustainably high amount from 3.
Yeah, he's like 6 or 7.
Um, oh, for real? Like that's the actual numbers?
Yes. And
Okay.
his shooting from the field is crazy too. I think he's like 9 of 12. Like he's not missing shots. And that was like semi one of the knocks coming into this year. It's like he's not like a super shooter. Like I know that's not going to stay where it is, but if he's shooting what, let's say a severe drop to what 35% from three, still really good. And it looks like he's doing it on a good number of shots too. So like that kid's special. I know you said cold earlier, but I sleep under a vent, so I know cold. No, that man's ice cold. Like that dude is incredible.
Like it's and it's just like I want to, especially because like you said, we've seen him in high school. Like I want to see what he looks like in college, right? And like the thing is, outside of him, like the team as a whole has been playing good basketball as well, right? In fairness, right? You expect them to win those games, right? But it's still just like the numbers look pretty solid for the team as a whole, like early. Um, right? You have like outside of Chandler, right? You have three other dudes averaging in double figures, right?
Oh, who are those dudes?
I am going to. I'm almost certainly gonna mess up two of these last names because I've not heard them. But Oliver Nikamhoyu, I I messed that up so badly. I apologize.
just say the initials, bro. We'll get it.
ON. Okay, but he's averaging 17 points and 11 rebounds,
Mm.
right? Um, Santiago Vescovi is averaging 13 and a half points, 4.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.5 steals. Hasn't been super efficient though, but hey. Justin Powell, 12 points, um, 2 rebounds. But it's just like I don't know. I just want to see the team.
Yeah.
Um, right? Like their two best rebounders are both currently averaging double figures in rebounds, 10 and 11. Uh, I'm looking forward to the Villanova game, which I'm gonna find a way to watch.
Yeah. So who has Tennessee played?
To this point, it's been one moment. UT Martin and East Tennessee State.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not incredible teams, but nonetheless, I think Eastern Tennessee isn't. Yeah, that's ETSU. They usually are pretty good mid major, right?
They've been pretty solid the last couple years.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, the Villanova game will be fun. The Memphis game will be spectacular. I am looking forward to it. Um, Granted, I felt like both Tennessee and Memphis were ranked lower than they probably should have been going in, or like definitely ranked lower than like where they can end up. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like you could look up and like be like both of them are top five teams and not be wildly surprised by that outcome. Um, but again, we will see. Memphis in its first two games has also looked pretty good. A lot of turnovers though. Um, that's something for them to work on. But to start the season, good basketball. Again, I'm just happy they seem to have a fully functioning offense. They still look like they're going to be one of the best defenses in the country, right? And Memphis has dudes like.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard
um,
Durant is out here looking like a monster early.
uh, kind of like I think in that first game he had like 5 blocks, like 5 or 6 blocks. I'm looking at the numbers now. He's averaging 4 a game through the first two.
Mm.
Um, Duran's numbers right now are 12 and a half points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 4 blocks on 76% shooting.
Yeah. Hey, Calvin, I'm much like you. I am also looking forward to that Tennessee Memphis game, and mainly because I know Bates and Chandler are definitely going to be talking to each other. And they have intense faces, so you know it's gonna be. I need a lot of tight shots on both of them.
Like you just want to hear him talk mess. Like I was thinking about
Have
that
them
too.
mic'd up, baby. Who I got to talk to about that? Let me
I don't
text you.
hold up, wait. I don't even know which team is the home game for this time. Hold up, let me look. Uh okay, it looks like it's a Memphis home game.
Oh yeah, so you know Monty Bates about to talk crazy, and I hope they get switched off
It's
on each other for some weird reason. I don't care who do
because
who bad.
you just want to see dudes talking mess to each other. That's what
Exactly,
you want.
exactly. I want that and one because you know whatever switch off, they're gonna foul the other one.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I weirdly have my money on if that happens. Chandler locking up Bates. He a bulldog.
I Yeah, I have to see it. Like I know his defense has been improving, but I've never considered Chandler a lockdown defender. Like in one on like as far as one-on-one goes in particular.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a team defender at this point. We watched what he was doing, how he could see the entire floor, and when he's
Mhm.
that one particular play against who was it? I think it was Montvert, right? Where
It-
he like left his man, snuck up behind Buddy, and like took it full court.
yeah, like that he yeah, like a lot of our games we watched with him were against Montvert.
Yeah,
Um but yeah, like I don't think he's a bad defender. I'm just not sure how good of a defender, in particular one-on-one, right? When like how is he when you put him on an island? And I do not and like I'm not that confident in his game like as a man defender.
yeah,
But in terms of like on a team, like yeah, like he's gonna cause opposing offenses problems. He's a bit of a pest off ball. Um but yes, looking forward to that game. It will be spectacular. Must see TV. Just I feel it in my bones.
yeah. Cancel your plans with your girlfriend on Saturday. You got go ahead, get some popcorn, sit her in front of the TV with you, explain everything, so you guys can be happy, healthy while watching one of the best games in college basketball. Um, Calvin, let's go ahead. Since we're talking about some of the best teams in college basketball, let's go ahead and pivot to UCLA. What you think about them so far?
Mhm. Um, Again, still haven't had the opportunity to catch a game, but they did just beat Nova in OT.
Yeah,
Um, which I don't know. Maybe it's just again, I feel like I was definitely lower on them than a lot of other people coming into the season. I won't pretend otherwise. Um, but they managed to pull out a tough win against Villanova, who is a generally a fantastic team year in and year out. Um, it's like it was clearly a close one the entire way. It looks like just look at the box score and like the half breakdown and all of that. Um, so that I hadn't even thought about that game. I really should have watched that game. Um, but Juzang put up 25.
yeah. Did you see how many shots Juzang had to take though? He took 24.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be a problem for them if Juzang needs that much of the offense to score. I know it's still like early in the season and he found his rhythm, but one of the issues with him during the draft process that came up is he needs to shoot a lot
He's a
to score.
volume dude.
And on top of that, he doesn't do much else. And you look at the rest of the box score, it's not like he filled it up much anywhere else.
Right. Well, he did have 8 rebounds. Granted, that's through both halves and OT, so I guess, Jaquez Jr. though, like Jamie Jaquez had 21 points,
Yeah.
13 rebounds, and he didn't need all those shots.
What?
Um,
Didn't he have
but
something crazy like 6 threes?
no, he had 2. I'm
2?
looking at the yeah. Jaquez had 2, but it was 50% off. He was 50% from 3, as
Yeah.
opposed to Juzang, who hit 1 3 all game, but it wasn't for lack of trying. But in fairness, most folks that like I've kind of see talk about it, Jaquez, like Jamie Jaquez, is generally considered he'd probably be the dude you consider the better player. And Parks is like he's more consistent, like you know what you're gonna get out of him night in and night out. Whereas Juzang can have amazing games and terrible games.
Yeah.
There's more variability in his play, I guess.
Yeah. And I think his name is pronounced Hami Haquez. At least that's what
Jaquez?
yeah.
Okay, my bad then.
Yeah, you're good.
Jaquez. Mm-hmm.
But no, like his game was pretty stellar.
But like I'm also looking at like what Nova's players did too, though. It's just this had to be an amazing game to actually see. I'm saying this. I feel this feels weird. I should have seen this game.
Calvin, we got ESPN Plus. Go ahead, run it back.
Fair. Regardless, actually, you know what? I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also games I think I want to try and watch. Rent today would be a good day to get that in because there's not that much in terms of good basketball going on. At least none that I can watch because a good game is going on as we speak, and the men's side is kind of dry. So,
Yeah.
but that was really a fantastic win for UCLA early. What Florida State lost to Florida. Didn't really expect that. I wasn't even aware of the game, but I would have assumed Florida State wins that one.
Yeah. And unranked Florida at that.
Yes, and unranked. They're not unranked anymore.
Of course not. That's what happened when you beat a team like that.
Yeah, it looked a lot more lopsided than I was expecting to.
Yeah, but this is one of the younger Florida State teams that has been in a while, right?
I think so. Like,
yeah.
I think they had more. I think they had a bit more turnover than other teams. But oh yeah, just to touch on it for a bit, because this is a game I actually got to see with my own 2 eyes. Alabama played South Dakota State. So you look at the score, it looks more lopsided than it was to actually watch through most of the game, right? Because I got to see. I'm not gonna say I saw the entire game, but I saw most of it, and like it was really like it was a really close game through the first half in particular, right? Like there were points that South Dakota State was up, but second half started and it was touch and go for a second there too, and then like you kind of just looked up and like Alabama had like a double-digit lead. Like it just kind of happened like that, right? Like you just look up and Dakota State is down like double digits. And like that happened like twice. I just look up and the lead grew significantly. Like but like Bama looked good in the game on the whole though, right? And like of course for the team as a whole, it's good to play, good teams early. Right? South Dakota State good program. They put up a solid fight. Neither team was exactly amazing from deep. But like Quinterly played well, 26 points, 8 assists.
Ooh.
Shackelford also played well. Oh, I'm looking at Jesus. Well, I mean, if you take enough threes, some of them have to go down. But I really like how Bediako played. Granted, he wasn't their leading scorer, but like I don't know how to describe. I just liked how he played. He finished with 12 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block, all 6 of 7 shooting. Right, he wasn't the volume guy. Davidson was a solid contributor. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe because I just don't pay enough attention to Bama. I was expecting him to be more involved, like a bigger part of what the team was doing offensively than it looks like he is. He wasn't bad though. Don't get me wrong. He had not the he didn't have the best shooting night, right? 2 of 7 for 6 points. Wasn't able to hit a three, but he still had like 5 assists, 5 rebounds. He had a steal. So it was still not a terrible night for him. The team played well. Noah Friedel for South Dakota State put up 23 points off some pretty good efficiency, honestly. It was a fun game. It should not have been relegated to ESPN Plus and the SEC Network Plus. I'm sorry. Like it should have been on like one of like ESPN and ESPN2. It was that kind of game, even though like it looks like if you just look at the box scores and stuff, like it looked like Alabama was in far more control through the entire game than they were. But yeah, like
Yeah. Now I feel you, man. There we go. There we go. Talking about scheduling again.
yeah.
It's always gonna be funky early. And so does South Dakota State just not have enough name recognition to really get those type of TV games? Like it makes me want to go
So
do some digging, but I'm not about to do it.
I think some of it is less. So like South Dakota State has been kind of good for a minute, definitely since like around the time they got Mike Dom a while back, who is still I'd still consider one of my favorite like college players. And I'm upset that his teammate shot him out of the game against Ohio State in the tournament. It's like I get it, y'all hit some big shots, but give it to like the giant on your team who's automatic from basically everywhere. Like just let him close out the game for you. It's okay. A win is a win. But I think it's just in the case of this as well as probably that women's game that's going on right now that I touched on earlier. Some of it is like you have to give people a reason to go and get the SEC network, right? Like you got to give them a reason to have to like to want to like pay extra for that. And the way you do that is put good games on it. Never mind the fact that like I'm not gonna lie to you, right? Even when I'm in a better position, I'm not getting the SEC network. I don't care enough about SEC teams, and most of the best game and most of the good games are going to be on the major networks anyway. So it's just like I'm like I don't care about the SEC network. I don't care about the Big Ten network. I don't care about the ACC network. Right? If the AAC had its own network, I wouldn't care about it either. Like, I'm sorry.
And Calvin, that brings us to our sponsor of the day, Pluto TV.
Hey.
With Pluto TV, you get over 1,000 shows for free. Like you get 1,000 plus television channels for the free. So if you ever need to find that game that's just not coming on there, and I don't know how they getting around some of these subscriptions, I do not care. I just know that it is free and it costs me nothing. So I would tell everybody I know to go get Pluto TV until, Pluto TV doesn't have things for free anymore. And at that point, the sponsorship may go away. So congratulations to Pluto TV. Again, guys, go ahead and find that at plutotv.com, or you can download the app. But I prefer to do it online because you're not coming after me whatever governing body comes to shut that down. Not coming to get me.
Uh, like, but yeah. Uh, I'm just seeing what the rest of their schedule looks like. Um, there is a decent chance that Bama is probably the best team the South Dakota State's going to play all year.
Mm.
Granted, they have Nevada and Washington on their schedule, but I don't know how good Washington is going to be or even is. I assume Nevada's they tend to be pretty solid. George Mason is a pretty solid mid-major. They also have Washington State. Like they'll have some other opportunities to add some solid wins to schedule, but this is probably the best. This is probably the best team South Dakota State is going to play until the tournament, right?
Right.
Assuming should they be so fortunate as to make it there. But which again goes into the whole mid-high major teams not scheduling good mid-majors thing, which I will not harp on because we could be here all day. But yeah. Also, Kansas, y'all won your games. Looked
Look,
pretty good.
and I was saying, look, Ochai Agbaji has made the leap.
Oh
That
yeah,
dude,
he's put up numbers.
yeah, and he looks good doing it. Last year he could do some things off the bounce, but no, it's like full on ability to create his own shot, really good slasher. He's always been a big, powerful body at 6'5", but he got some wiggle now. Like he's a bucket. He's for real. And
Hmm?
yeah, so do you got the stats pulled up in front of you?
Yeah, he's averaging 27 right now. Off 60% shooting and 46 from deep.
Who were they playing?
They played a Michigan State team that I'm not entirely sure how good they're going to be. And Tarleton State, Tarleton.
Tarleton has some dogs on it. Like
Okay.
a lot of their guys came from Dallas over the last like 2 years, and they literally just pick up the toughest guards that we have like down there that are kind of going under the radar. Like um, I believe they got Noah McDavid, who at 6'4" can kind of do everything. He could score for you. He can hit it in the mid range. Decent shooter from deep, but his real thing is being a really big guard that can make plays for you. And then there's another really tough guy who played at Mansfield High School. I can't think of his name right now, but he's scary. Like I'm actually really surprised that Tarleton picked him up, considering just how good he was that year. Give me a quick second. Let me pull up his name. No. All right, we're just gonna have to edit this part out. Oh, found it. Joey Madimba. Like he was one of the toughest guards. He was picking up generally picking up your best ball handler, super physical, strong, athletic, and just a dog. So like that's the type of guys that Tarleton has. So the fact that he got numbers against him, like he played some dudes.
And that dude who I mentioned, I'm pretty sure I brought up last podcast about how like Kansas, like just went and got a ridiculous amount of talent, like in transfers. The dude who I mentioned, let me see if I can find his name because I will probably continue to draw blanks from now until the end of time. Yes, Cam Martin. He apparently is opted to redshirt, which I did not know. I was wondering why he wasn't getting any playing time. Apparently, that's just because like they're gonna need bigs next year, anyways. Like the idea of a bigger role I think that most of it, like, a chance to work on your game, even though like everybody else is gonna go playing and whatever. But yeah, so that's nice. Wait, who's Kansas got on the schedule?
Ooh, let's see their schedule because they always got the really tough Big 12 conference. Even though it might be another like somewhat down year for them all together, but let's see the big names that this non-conference is
This is
not looking great, Calvin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm looking at that. I'm like, this seems kind of weak. They did squeeze it. They are squeezing Kentucky in January because I don't know. They just decided to squeeze Kentucky in January.
Yeah, was that the Big 12 SEC challenge most likely?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking at this non-conference. This is kind of weak.
UTEP. No disrespect to UTEP, but Harvard.
Fair. Harvard tends to pretty decent teams. Like they've been a solid team for it's been a solid program for a minute now.
Yeah, but what they gonna do against Kansas?
Fair, but that's why you play the games. But like it's a game you would expect Harvard to lose though.
Yeah. Look, I'm just happy that December 11th we get the border battle back. Like we have not had that in what 5 to 7 years, if memory serves correctly. Ever since Missouri went to the SEC to get bumped on the regular, they could have just stayed at home and got beat up. It was a nice little 2-hour trip for y'all to just go ahead and get thrashed by like 10, 15. Gabo, we're gonna have to talk more. I gotta get you in the culture because I know it's been a while and you're not from Kansas City, so you don't get the impact of what it means to have Missouri and Kansas play on a regular. Dog, we hate them. Like whatever side you choose, you hate the other side for no given reason. Like I don't even know Missouri fans, bro.
So it's more or less the same thing as like the Memphis UT games, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Fairness, I actually tend to like Tennessee's teams since Barnes has gotten there, but like it's still super fun games and they've gotten kind of snippy, right? But like that's part of the fun.
Exactly. Now we can go back to it would be more fun if I knew more Missouri fans. Literally, the entire family is like diehard Kansas with it. Like, and I grew up in Belton, which is like 35 minutes away from Kansas. So I do not know any Missouri fans. That got to be on the other side.
Well, it probably doesn't help that like Missouri hasn't been that good for a little minute now.
Man, I'm talking about even growing up. Like even when they had like a nice little run for I want to say about like 5 years where they were consistently ranked in like the top 25. Like they had guys. I can't think of my man right now, but he plays for the Utah Jazz. He just won the Sixth Man of the Year.
Clarkson.
Yes, Jordan Clarkson was at Kansas during that time. They had like they were producing NBA players during that time where they were like solid. It might only be one or two of them on the roster compared to Kansas where they was going to have like 5 to 6 usually. Like that was like the Mario Chalmers era. Like that's when it was like real hot for us. But I'm just glad that it's back, and I hope that is a continuous thing. So we can go back to having an easy W on the an easy W on the thing that means a lot to everybody, instead of thumping Harvard.
I mean, fairness. Granted, this might not be fair to Missouri, but I would think that Harvard would give you a better game than Missouri would.
Ooh. Conzo Martin would like a word with you, my friend.
He probably would. That's okay. Like that's why you play the games. But like, granted, this is just like fandom. right? This isn't strictly basketball. Something I read forever ago. I don't remember where though, because a lot of stuff that I'll pull from in terms of reading even here just I would have read years ago. But like apparently in terms of like general fandom of teams, good or bad, but probably like especially like when like teams aren't that great at the moment. Like a lot of it can be tracked to like whether or not they were good when you first started getting into sports, which is you apparently usually between around like 10 through like midway through high school,
Yeah.
right? And like I thought about it and like that tracks, my love like the Grizzlies, and it doesn't quite track with the Tigers. Like it kind of tracks, it doesn't quite track, but like it definitely tracks for like the Grizzlies with me though. It definitely it doesn't track with the Titans at all. I've always been a Titans fan, even though like they wouldn't pay anybody. Like even after Eddie George and Steve McNair, and they didn't want to pay anybody and whatever. Granted, I also wasn't watching football like that. That probably helped significantly. But yeah, so like it might just be a thing that like, but like Missouri was still kind of good when we were that age though.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Solid battles, but Kansas was amazing around that time. Like in like notable names, like dudes that were like bigger than life. Like we were having the Rush brothers during that period. But Kareem Rush and guys like that, where it's just kind of like that's
During
my
that,
guy.
y'all
And then
had
Brandon
what
Rush.
like
Oh
the Morris twins,
yes.
Perry Ellis, who felt like he was there forever.
Yeah, I think that's closer to the end where I want to say Perry Ellis was in college for like 7 years. So like his last 3 years, I think that's around the time where Missouri left the conference. But nah, man, they had so many battles, which is hilarious because I can't think of any of them. But I know we like won all of them. Like I think over like a 5 to 7 year period, we only lost like 2 times to them. Probably why I don't know any Missouri fans, to be honest with you. That's hilarious.
Probably. But all right, so pivoting a little to our, momentary talk of the NBA, because I certainly didn't watch any NBA games. I had options I would rather watch, just kind of straight up. So, but the Wizards are still good. A couple weeks into the season now.
Okay, look, we can keep this one short because I, much like you, I was deep in high school basketball. So if you guys want to do another hour of that, please let me know. But I'm still not super surprised that the Wizards are solid. They have a bunch of pieces with like actual NBA
But
experience of not just losing. Like Spencer Dinwiddie, he's won awards. He's an actual dude. Like we almost got that man into the All-Star game. Kyle Kuzma, I'm sorry, the God, Kyle Kuzma, the man who made sure LeBron won the NBA championship. That Kyle Kuzma is bringing NBA championship experience to a team that's been on like a really long drought. Of course, Bradley Beal is going to give you 25 to 30 points a game. He might shoot the living piss out the ball, but guess what? He got you the points. Like it's a well-rounded squad that has a bunch of guys who are going to compete, and I appreciate that.
right. But they also have some good young talent in the pipeline for later. But like it's also, but for me, I don't know. When I like first saw the roster, and we've mentioned this before, but like it didn't inspire a lot of confidence in me. I was wrong, right? Like it didn't. I thought they'd be better than they were last year. I didn't think they'd be good, right?
Look, it's still early. It's still early, my man.
Yeah, but like it's still early, and like when everybody's played 20 games, it'll still be early. But like it's looking more and more like this might hold.
Yeah, we'll see in February.
Yeah, but
And it,
like it's like around the 20 game mark, I think. So, like injuries and stuff notwithstanding, we more or less know what teams are kind of going to look like for the season. There'll be some movement, but like, yeah,
yeah, but
like we wouldn't expect Milwaukee to be under 500 like here. They're apparently under like they're 6-8 right now, which a little
yeah,
surprising. I don't know what their injuries look like. Golden State is. I didn't expect this
devastating.
without Klay Thomas.
Hey, I'm gonna be real with you. I expected them to be good. I still don't have full like championship level confidence in them, but when you have when you have a solid team that has really good shooters, you let Steph be Steph. Like he had 50 the other day, then he had 40. Like Steph is enough of an offensive engine by himself that he's going to keep you in games. It is everyone else's job to push the button. And now that this team is like completely healthy, we got Draymond playing really good defense. We got we got Andrew Wiggins being somewhat of a defensive stopper and a guy who can score 20 points and is making like some ridiculous shots. Like he's been doing this for years, but like they're tough. Like and he just kind of knows how to get a bucket. Like this is probably the Andrew Wiggins that everybody was expecting him to be like when he got drafted. And then Jordan Poole has taken a major step. He had like a run where he was averaging like 27 points a game over like 4 games. They have, realistically speaking, you need about 3 guys that are always going to like push it for you. I think that's part of the reason. Part of the reason why we're going to eventually see like the Bulls struggle, because when you take certain guys off the floor, the offense is a little stagnant. But you can take a lot of guys. You can take half the guys that I just talked about off the floor, and their offense still look pretty good. Like they still have Kevin Looney, who was there during the championship time. Your boy James Wiseman is not atrocious. He fits with this team a lot. Like they have a really good roster.
Like, like that's the thing, and so the thing with Wiseman, even my thing last year with him, and it's still true this year. Is like if you're the Warriors, you don't need him to be like you don't need him or Kuminga or Moody to be the guy right now, right? You need them to improve and to like play certain roles that you expect them to grow out of into like bigger roles. Um, so like that's I don't know. Like it's good to hear, a little expected, whatever. If I may, right? And granted, this is just taking unwarranted shots at the Timberwolves. Everybody has more success when they leave the Timberwolves.
That it is a Timberwolves problem. I do not know. I don't know if that team is built on like an ancient burial ground. I don't know if their owner is actively trying to sabotage or their front office has just been the same exact people for their entire existence. That is loser fuel. Like I don't know what it is over there, but the minute you get away from it, if you're a solid dude, of course you're gonna have success because you're not with the Timberwolves anymore. Like I need a 30 for 30 on that. Just what's going on over there? Because there's
Like,
there's no there's no reason that this should be happening for like 30 plus years. And you get talent. Like Cat should be good enough to get you an 8 seed.
like what? Like players who like they've wasted to this point. Um, Garnett, Love, um, Towns currently, um, Wiggins. I mean, like in fairness, we can still see what they do. It's it's not improbable for like them to become a decent team, like a good team here in the next couple years, because Anthony Edwards is kind of that dude.
And he might force him. He might force him to be good.
Yeah, he just might. Like he seems to have a really solid, like his head like in a really solid place. When talking about basketball, in addition to apparently just being a highly quotable young man. I
Oh
just
yeah.
yeah, just like he's the dude you want to talk to if you're a media person.
The world's most entertaining man, Anthony Edwards, like by far.
Yeah. Um. So and like you're right, he might just drag them into relevance here before too long. It's just right, and the front office will take credit like we planned this the entire time and just be like, holy shit, we're actually good. Right?
And you know
Which
they in there giddy, like slapping each other, like, oh my god, you don't suck, you don't suck.
Right?
Give it some time.
That said, even with Anthony Edwards being amazing, having Carl Anthony Towns, and they still have Russell, right?
Yes, they still have D'Angelo Russell. Not having a good
Right?
season, but he's there.
I mean, like it's still like he's been a good player, right?
Exactly.
You'd expect him to, start to get it together at some point. Like even with all that talent, though, they're not good. They're 4-8 right now, right? Like, and that just doesn't make sense. Like New Orleans Pelicans being trash um
Zion.
without Zion, and especially since um Lonzo went to the Bulls, who are also playing good basketball. That's not that surprising. Um, and in fairness, what little good they had, what success the Pelicans have had is predicated on Giannis Valanciunas, who is currently being a monster in total obscurity, right? Um, just putting up numbers on what is currently a 2-win Pelicans team. Also, is Brandon Ingram playing?
I have no idea.
Hold up, because I'm just like I feel like even with Zion out, I would
We should,
expect them to be a little better.
and if not better, we at least be saying that Brandon Ingram is averaging like 25 or something.
Let's see. No, he's apparently been playing.
Yeah,
Let's see what the numbers look like. Let's pull up the tail of the tape. Okay, Brandon Ingram has been averaging 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. He's only played 7 games. I'm assuming the most recent ones. Valanciunas is averaging 19 points. Like he's averaging right at 20 points and 13 rebounds, in addition to 2.7 steals and a block.
look, I do not know what it is in certain situations why you consistently suck. Maybe that goes to show the depth of the NBA and how bad some people are just building out a roster. Because when we talk about Minnesota, when we talk about the Pelicans, outside of the people you've named, I can't think of anybody on that roster. And I guess when you can only go about 2 or 3 names deep on a roster, that probably leans to them being not good. Like even with the Wizards, we went like 4 names deep.
Like I'm looking at their schedule. I'm like, maybe they've been playing good teams, and like fairness, that kind of seems to be what's been going on for the Pelicans to this point, right? This is who they've played at this point. All right, Philly, Chicago, Minnesota twice, Atlanta, Sacramento, New York, Phoenix, Sacramento again, Golden State, Dallas, Oklahoma City, Brooklyn, and they apparently just got their second win against Memphis, who apparently just got everybody healthy.
Oh, hold up. You mean to tell me They played Minnesota twice, and that wasn't their 2 wins.
It was
Please tell me it's at
it
least
counts
one
for
of
one
them.
of their wins. It accounts for
Okay.
one of their wins. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they do sound like they have a front loaded schedule, but you also said a few names that I would like. I don't
Like,
think the Kings aren't an easy win.
but
Like there's
they're doable. Like you should reasonably be able to get them, or like Oklahoma City.
I
It,
think both of those are bad matchups for though both of them were bad matchups for the Pelicans because they are super guard heavy and those guards are going to go after you. Like De'Aaron Fox is going to cut you up if you don't have somebody that can actually defend. And then it's the same story with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and there's a lot of talent on that OKC team.
hmm Um. Yeah, but it's like you look at it, it's like, okay, the fact they haven't won like that makes a bit more sense. Because it's like I looked at the Pelicans roster, and it's just, granted, a lot of these dudes aren't the first dudes that come to mind when you think of players, but it's just like the roster doesn't actually look that bad,
Mm.
right?
What does
Like, I
that
mean,
bad mean?
okay, so Brandon Ingram, you have Jonas Valanciunas, you have Nickel Alexander Walker, Devontae Graham, Josh Hart. Okay, maybe the issue is the bench. Because I go to the bench and I'm starting like, okay, I don't recognize some of these guys.
Boom.
You have a Herbert Jones, who I have to assume is new, Garrett Temple, Jackson Hayes, Trey Murphy III, Kira Lewis Jr., Najee Marshall, and then some dudes who just haven't gotten PT like that. Um, so it
Yeah.
just looking at it, it looks like the bench is young.
Yes, and there's a tier jump for players that you named after Jonas Valanciunas. Like that is like
Yeah,
a tier, maybe one or two tiers below the two names that you just said. And
yeah,
when you got like a talent disparity, like it's a lot you got to do to make up. Like you need Zion.
yeah.
And I don't think you ain't, now I'm gonna get this joke off. You mean to tell me Thanksgiving coming up, you're not getting Zion as soon as you think? It's a holiday season
I
in
just,
New Orleans, and then he got to go back
bruh,
to South Carolina to eat with his folk. Boy, you ain't getting Zion back. You know he not asking
bruh.
for the salad.
I just look. They're
Bring
funny,
bacon
but I feel
casserole.
like the Zion fat jokes need to stop. He's minding his own business.
He is minding his own business. That's just not basketball shape. Is the issue like I understand, and I'm not trying to be like that person that like eggs it on because I do understand he has an injury and there might be something even deeper going on. But the issue is when it comes to you winning games or just being on the floor, where he is at is not floor ready, and that's not going to help that record anytime soon. Like I got a feeling he's not coming back before Christmas.
That that's
And if
fair.
he does come back before Christmas, it's not going to look good. This isn't going to be the Zion that we've been seeing over the last couple years. It's going to take a minute.
That that's fair. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I will say though that, granted, I haven't looked too deep, and the Mavericks are kind of surprising me. Like, I so far they're 8-4, and again, a lot of season left, but that's so far they've apparently been better than I would have expected them to be. Sitting at the fourth seed
Yeah.
right now. Um, what?
Yeah.
Of course, the Jazz a bit.
Yeah. Now, if we can take a minute to talk about the Mavs, because
All right.
Calvin, that is my grandmother's favorite team right now.
Mm-hmm.
So when we watch basketball games together, she asks me all the time, who's that Doncic boy? And I have to like explain to her And she's like always saying like he reminds me so much of Dirk. Like I like his game. I like how he plays. She does get a little upset when he goes in like baby mode, when he kind of gets like upset and whatnot. And I completely get it. But him, you know what Doncic is going to give you. Doncic is going to give you a crazy scoring output and going to make really big plays. Like a couple of weeks ago, he hit a really big game winner. Like it was pretty. But it's a fully healthy Porzingis. When Porzingis is fully healthy and trying really hard, and I think an issue might be he is at this point in his career a regular season player, where he's going to look really good in the regular season. Like even last year, he looked really good. But as we get farther out, and maybe he picks up an injury, or there's just situations where they make him defend away from the paint. That's going to be the issue because he's having a pretty good season right now. Like I think he's up there in block leaders. Like when those two were playing really well together, that's weirdly one of the better duos, even out west.
Okay. Maybe it'll hold up. Jason Kidd is their coach. They're still winning games. So, but like
the great Jason Kidd, Hall of Fame Jason Kidd. You gotta be specific.
Yeah, but he's a Hall of Famer as a player, not a coach.
Not yet.
I mean,
wait till he go get another ring for Dallas. They'll put him in the Hall of Fame so quick. They'll forget about him throwing that water on the court a couple years back.
No, that's definitely going to be in his 30 for 30 though.
Oh yeah, it needs to be.
Right, just so you can laugh at it.
Like every Dallas related 30 for 30, every Milwaukee related 30 for 30, anywhere where he's coached, I need that clip of him telling Buddy to bump me. Every single time. Like it's like this doesn't fit. Yes, it does. Trust me.
But I mean, that's not gonna lie, it's kind of the extent of my NBA knowledge. And doesn't seem much going on except 4 games. Right? There's no major injuries, no major stuff on the sideline that wasn't already going on. Ben Simmons is still not playing. And like you can talk about other people talking about it, but like the 76ers are still pretty good. Granted, they kind of need a beat on the floor to be any good, but that is what it is at that point. Him and Nurkic have to carry their teams pretty much. They're just good enough to do that by and large.
Calvin, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen how much they're finding Ben Simmons each game?
I have to assume it's the pay that you would get for the game. So like 380 something thousand?
Yes.
I think it is. Yeah.
Dog, can you imagine losing $1 million a week?
No.
Like the first time I heard that number, I was like, in my head, I'm like, oh, if I make $380,000 in one day, I'm taking the rest of the year off.
Basically.
Like I'm not. I was like, wait, right? Yeah, I get all this? Oh yeah, nah, my heel hurt.
It's like, it's like not even that. I can pay off all my folks stuff too, right? And still not have to do anything.
Look, still have $50,000 in the bank. I'm like, no, I'm taking a nap today.
Yeah, like I
was like, what? Is that?
It's like I got all my stuff paid for the year.
Exactly. Is that why we, I was about to get. It's time to end the podcast because I was about to get real economic up in here, bro. Well, thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of the Traveling Hoopers podcast. I thank you so much for sticking around this long. So go ahead and give us a like, a subscribe, and tell us what college basketball team that you're following closely this season in the comments below. With that being said, Calvin, go ahead and sign us out, my friend.
Okay. Once again, it's been a pleasure. I'm Calvin McGowan. This has been the Traveling Hooper podcast. Is of course, if you're joining us on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, some in the comments. Of course, you can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Enjoy the rest of your week, and
Yeah.
enjoy the rest of the good basketball that's being played.